welcome to yet another episode of the Let's Talk Leadership podcast. This is a show where I, Elly, MD of Transition Partners, and the CEO, Sandra, talk to some of the world's highest achieving business and tech leaders.
In each episode, we will be sharing tales, tips, techniques, and war stories in the hope that you will learn from some of these amazing leaders to help you develop and progress your career.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Let's Talk Leadership podcast. I am very excited for today's guest. We've got the fabulous Jamie Hinton, who is CEO at Razer. At Razer, they believe the only way to predict the future is to create it. They harness the power of automation, virtual reality, AI, ML, and focused design thinking to enhance businesses, experiences, and capability beyond expectation. Jamie's been voted one to watch by the LDC Top 50 Most Ambitious Business Leaders. I first saw Jamie speak as part of the AI Tech North conference, as was inspired by both his energy and his passion. Luckily, I had the opportunity to meet Jamie in person a few weeks ago now. When he first logged on the Zoom, he came on as Jelly Bean Jess, who's his daughter. So throughout the podcast today, we're just going to refer to him as Jelly Bean Jamie. So hi, Jamie.
Hi, Elly. How you doing? Good to see you again.
I'm so good. I'm so excited to have you on the episode today. How are you getting on anyway?
Yeah, great. It's just such a strange time for everyone, but I think bringing that positivity and energy is one of the things that will get us through. So yeah, it's all good. I'm great.
You certainly do that as well, like the energy you bring to a conversation. I think you bring great vibes, which, yeah, I'm so excited to have you on the podcast today because I know that will transfer into audio really well. So let's start then our discussion today by talking about your journey into tech. What led you to where you are today in Razer?
Okay. It's an interesting journey. I think, like so many, it doesn't start with the end in mind. When you're young, you don't know where you're going. You don't know what you need to do. You don't know what's going to engage you. And my background is actually in music. So I was at school. I just loved playing the saxophone and jazz music. And I did that a lot. And I got into the Young Jazz Musicians of the Year. I met Tony Wilson. I played with Supertramp and the Ronnie Scott Band.
God, that's so cool.
It's just a bit different. And when people find out about that, they're like, oh, really? God, you did that? Why do you not do it now? But the journey went into dance music and studios. And that's where I went and did my undergraduate degree in music technology. And in that, there's lots of technology, obviously, and computers and creativity and problem solving. And one of my majors was in multimedia. So I first found out about integer and decimals and programming. And I really, really enjoyed that. And there was something about creation in that. And it was my wife, well, she's my wife now. She wasn't my wife back then. She was like, this music stuff's great. And I had a few record deals and I was doing lots of cool stuff. She said, well, it's not always going to, she wanted a house and, that sort of stuff. And I've always railed against the normal life, but I get it. It's the real world. And she was the one that said, actually, you need to go and do that. You love doing that. You're great at it. You've got a passion. Go and do it. And she found an MSc course in that. And I went on the MSc course. She actually phoned the course leader and I heard it ring. It was in the studio. And she handed me the phone. I was like, hello.
She sounds like the pushy kind of girlfriend that I'm like.
Oh, yeah. She's absolutely driven. And without her, I wouldn't be doing anything.
Yeah, that's so cool.
I'd probably be dribbling in a corner somewhere. So that's what got me into like computing properly. And this was back in like 2003/4. So the early days of it. And after that, I got a job at a web agency in Sheffield called Technophobia. And at the time, they were the first people to bring online banking. They did all sorts of very interesting stuff. And what was so unique was I got the opportunity to work with some incredibly talented people way back in the day. I got paid peanuts, but I wasn't there for that. And I think that's something that sometimes gets forgotten. It's not about the money. It was never about that. It was about, just doing cool stuff and learning things. And I got taught by some really great people who took the time to teach me. And I remember one of my first mentors, a guy called Ed Bowley, he was talking to me and I could hear him now asking me these questions. And he said, you don't actually understand how the internet works, do you? And I was like, obviously not. So he spent 2 hours in a room teaching me all the ground up. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. But I was just so excited about it. And at the same time, because I loved it, I got introduced by my dad to a company who wanted a website, and I built them an e-commerce site. Awesome. And it was one of those, that entrepreneurial sort of spirit where you heard Richard Branson sort of say, you say you can do it and then you work out how you do it later. And this literally what happened. I went down, they showed me their existing web application, and I was going, yeah, I can do this. Yeah, great. And in my head, I was going, oh my God, how am I going to do it? And I remember walking out, I had my Nokia N95, and I was Googling all these books, and I bought loads of books. Cut a long story short, they were a client for many, many years.
Wow.
They grew 50% year on year. They trusted me to automate their whole business, and now they're they're the second largest model retailer in Europe, built on technology. And I feel like I've been a part of their journey.
That's really cool.
So and from there it just grew and grew.
Do they now know that you didn't really know what you were doing back then?
Yeah. I even told them at the early days, it's like, once you've delivered it, I like to be honest and open about it. And it's that integrity of, I will deliver you this, and I went and did it. I would never let them down. And I think that's how I've built everything going forwards. It's like, you say you'll do something and you'll do it. And all of that it's snowballed. And it was basically January 2009. It had to be a formal business, so we got VAT registered and an accountant. Still working on our day job, working up to head of development and all that sort of stuff. And then it was December 2013 where the head of project management there, a guy called Steve Trotter, again, just one of these very driven and incredible characters, completely opposite to me in terms of organization and everything. He even wrote my resignation letter. He goes, we are starting this, we are doing this, and this is your resignation letter, and we're leaving on this date, and this is what's happening. We're employing that person.
Oh my God.
I was like, is this what we're going to do this? I'd had my second child at this point, like a couple of months before. It's like,
that's so daunting, isn't it? I love the fact that some of the two of the biggest life decisions that you've had have been made by other people.
but it's that trust, isn't it? And I think that's the integral point of everything you have to do.
And sometimes you just need that gentle push, don't you, to be able to, like, there's so many people that could be amazing entrepreneurs, but they talk about it all the time and they never do it. And sometimes you just need that gentle push, that trust and that blanket that everything's going to be all right to be able to do it. And that's so cool.
Sometimes a bit of a harder push, not even a gentle one. And I love that. You ask what you're fearful of. I'm almost fearing my fear. Like, come on, get on with it. What are you scared of? Let's do it. Let's go. And I think, you're right. You just need that little poke and off you go. And that's so good.
And Steve did that.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. He's done that relentlessly over all the years. So that's my background. It's a bit weird, a bit different, but isn't weird great?
Yeah, I love it. That's my favorite bit about tech, is like different people's stories and how they got into it, because I just find it so interesting, and all the different backgrounds. And I just think it really helps, like, encourage people to be able to make their move now. Like, I was actually doing a speaking at an event this week for Manchester Code, so that encourages people to step into tech later in life, no sort of technical degree background, and puts them on a course and gives it a go. And like, I was helping them on like landing their first job in industry, giving them like ideas of what to expect, CVs, interviews, etc. And it's just so interesting to be able to help people that haven't gone the kind of really obvious route, but there's so much value in bringing different life experiences into your role. I love it.
It's absolutely huge. And I think on that point, I've spoken to quite a few people who've done this.
Yeah.
And what you notice is there's the term of soft skills, and I want to quash that whole term. It's not soft skills. Let's call them the really hard skills. Because they're really, really hard. They take a lot
to
of
be
practice.
Really good at communication, or exactly. Like you can't put a value on skills like that, can you?
No, you can't. It's easy for me to say because I am a developer and done it for many years. But the code is the easy bit. You can learn that. You can Google it. You can sort it. I say easy, but it's easier to learn, I think, than those communication skills. Those ways to connect with people, to ask ignorant questions, to be confident enough to go, "You're doing that because." And that's where I think the real magic comes. You actually discovering problems that businesses didn't even know they had. And that's the magic.
And that's what you're doing then at Razor. So tell us more about that and what you guys are up to.
So at Razor, we've always, we are techies. I mean, our strapline is the technology works. And Razor by name, Razor by nature, we sit on the cutting edge, the bleeding edge, so that our customers don't have to. And that's from a brand level and everything else. And what we do is we invest heavily in that R&D because the tech space is moving so fast. I mean, I don't think there's a day goes by where there's a new JavaScript framework or something.
Yeah.
So we invest heavily in that, and we partner with businesses, large and small, to help them innovate, to develop sustainable innovations, and also disrupting innovations, to challenge their status quo. A lot of them aren't moving fast enough. They're scared. They're fearful of, should we move to the cloud? Or how does this data thing work? Do we invest heavily in that? And for us, we ask those ignorant questions and we give them strategies to play it out.
So you spend the time doing the research then, so they don't have to, and then you can just present the great ideas to them and do all the fun bits.
Like, we deliver it.
Stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's really good. Amazing. And how big's the business now? Like, where are you at in terms of size and team?
Oh God, you're going to ask me a number question, and I'm going to have to say, Steve, can you tell me a number? He'll know the number straight away. I think we're over 30 now. We've recruited 12, 13 now, I think, during lockdown alone.
Wow, that's really good. Yeah, that's really good thing.
3 joining us in the next week or so, which is why I'm like, because sometimes it's like I try and speak and know everyone, and when it comes to like the numbers, I'm not really bothered about the numbers. I'm bothered about each person as a exactly. So that's all exciting.
So that's really interesting then, that you've grown so much in the past 12 months. What about, so Sheffield's home for you, right?
Yeah, Sheffield born and bred.
The newbies then, and the office is you've just got Sheffield as a location at the moment. Are they Sheffield or are you looking remote? What's the strategy? No,
they're all over actually. And it's always been by design that we're not in a fixed location. Right. I truly believe that the human interaction is very, very important. But it doesn't really matter where that is. Straight away as we started, everyone had very powerful laptops, and it was always, each workstation was designed that you could just drop in and plug in and off you go, or you could move into the collaborative spaces. So our new environment that we have is very collaborative and open spaces. So really, with all the lockdown and everything, it was already ready to go. And I think opening up that pool and that wider diversity, not that we weren't doing it before, we were, but I think it's really accelerated a lot of that and taken away. Again, we come back to that fear thing. Operationally, it might be fearful, and I'm usually like, yeah, it'd be fine, let's do this, cool, yeah. And then I get brought down to the ground, going, how are we actually going to do this? I'm like, yeah, we'll sort it out. But it's really come together, and I think it's one of those things that solidified and gone, yeah, that was definitely the right thing to do, and it is great, and it works so well.
Yeah, that's really good to hear. Fantastic. So let's explore that leadership style then. It sounds like you're a really daring, energetic, passionate leader, but let's talk about how that's developed over the years. Was leadership natural to you, or?
I don't know. So I'm the youngest of 3, and I think I was always that little one vying for, I don't know, attention or whatever it is. And I've never focused on leadership as a thing. I know there's that whole thing, is it born, is it bred, is it whatever? And I think for me, it's about, I've always loved inspiring people. I've always loved getting the best out of people. It's about an energy, an exuberant energy. And one of the things I think I've really wanted to achieve in life is, you know, when they say to you, what do you want people to say to you about you at your funeral? I know it sounds really morbid, but it's not a bad practice to do. And when I realized it's actually, I want people to go, that person helped me achieve this, or I learned a lot from that person. I really started to focus on that. Not on like, oh, I want to be a leader, but by doing that, you actually position, because you don't position yourself as a leader, the other people position you as a leader. You can't make yourself.
Agreed. So by putting in like the actionables, then you were naturally going to fall into that status.
Exactly. You focus on the roots, and the fruits sort themselves out. I know that sounds like a real management BS sort of talk, but it really matters. You're focusing on the stuff that matters, that then bears the fruit. So you're actually putting other people first. You really care about what they're doing. When you say, how was your weekend, you genuinely mean it, and you genuinely care. And it's not just about work. You know, people who work with us, I want to know them personally. And that comes from right the recruitment side through to, oh, you're moving house. Oh, you need to be, I'll come and help you with that. Yeah, cool. Yeah, what day do you need me? Why am I more important than anyone else? I really am not. So that's my sort of, my leadership style. It's not leadership. I don't try. It's more of a coach, and I want to make you guys, or, you know, make everyone else better. And then surely that's a good thing.
You're going to do a great job of that. It sounds like you certainly are. What about challenges then? Let's be really honest, because it's so great, isn't it, to sit here and talk about how well the business is doing and what pain points have you got right now, and what challenges are you facing and how are you solving them?
There's always challenges, and it's that how you frame them. I love the word challenge rather than a problem. It's great. The challenges we have are around scaling, and that manifests itself in so many different ways. We've always said we don't want to scale exponentially, because we could do that. We could have 400 or 500 people in this business by now, but that's not what we want to do. I think it's that, I'd like to think it was like a 20-mile march. Every day we'll do 20 miles, and it's a consistent. If it's really bad, the weather's bad, we will still do 20 miles. And a lot of that is coming from me letting go. I think we know this one all too well. You're actually letting go and being able to delegate, and let other people, I suppose, make small mistakes so big ones can happen. We have this whole thing of it's okay to make a mistake. A mistake is just another way of learning, and letting go of that. That's a big challenge, and I think that's a big challenge for anyone I feel like Razor is mine and Steve's baby, and we've really curated it. And I think as you scale and grow, the challenges are around letting go, retaining that culture, which is about the people, and the recruitment bit, and finding those people that really stick. They're really hard.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because there's actually more of a challenge in letting go than finding the right people to take it over. Like, that's actually just so much harder than, like, there's always this excuse, isn't there, about finding the right people to do it, or if you're lucky enough to have an amazing team already, then that makes things easier. But the actual challenge is you letting go yourself, and not when you're so good at your job, which clearly you are, because you wouldn't be in the position you and Steve are both in unless you weren't. But kind of the challenge really is that piece, and that's going to be really tough.
It is. It's really hard.
Is that the kind of like steps then over the next 12 months then?
Yeah. The steps for the next 12 months. Oh, yeah. That's a tricky one. We're doing some planning at the minute, and I think that's because you're always catching up. There's always something, you get more people, and then it grows, and then you feel like you've got more space, and then you don't have more space. And it's getting clarity on the steps for the next 12 months. We, as a business, some of the really cool things, and it's like, I'm going to launch and share publicly what we do. We're starting an incubator called Bulldozer. Wow. And this is where we're engaging and really focusing on our cause, our bigger cause, the thing that's bigger than us, the thing that's going to be around after our children's children is gone, and it's a much bigger thing. And the Bulldozer thing is to enable, again, it really aligns with that whole thing of enabling other people to achieve. And we're not one of those incubators that just give you some money and some time. We actually, because we bring the might of Razor to it as well, and we bring everything else. We will actually literally build your idea as well as invest heavily and coach. You get
this
people.
Is so exciting, and this surely then allows you to be able to like step away from the, I don't want to say daily grind of Razor, because it's your little baby, so it's not like that, but it does allow, when you've got something exciting like this, it allows someone else to have the opportunity to step up whilst you focus on the incubator, which is so cool.
But weirdly and truly, Razor Way, we've actually got one of our senior engineers to head that whole spearhead that up. So again, it's not about us. It's about them, and they've actually brought their first big project, which is an AI-driven CCTV monitoring system. So it's a product. It's called the Alarm On It. You can go and buy it now, and that came from internally of the team. The guys working on stuff, they had this idea. They built a bit of a prototype. They pitched it to us. We've done it, and I think that's testament to us doing what we say we'll do.
Oh my God, I love it. So it's like
this is all new. Well, and that's what we're trying to foster.
That's so cool, isn't it?
You're getting all the firsts in this one.
Oh my God, I've got the scoop. That's so cool. So let's talk then. You said you're like Sheffield born and bred. Let's talk a little bit about the Sheffield tech scene. Obviously you're a key figurehead for that, but we're really, I guess, involved in more Leeds really tech scene. A bit over in Manchester. We started doing some bits in Newcastle. I've touched a bit in Sheffield before. I know a few people there and got involved in a couple of events there, but not hugely. Tell us more about it and Sheffield and the future of tech in Sheffield as well.
I think it's a really vibrant scene and there's so much going on. My biggest challenge with it, and I've said this in different areas as well, is it's the humble brilliance. We don't shout about it. It's all here, but we don't shout about it. And I think that's true of the whole North.
Yeah.
And I'm a big Northern fan. You can, like Manchester, Leeds, we're all in it together. And I think there's this humble brilliance of we're like, everything's happening down there, but we don't shout about what we can do. We don't shout, we don't believe, we don't believe in how much we can actually achieve. I think it's growing, but not at the rate that it really should be. And I get so annoyed that, you know, talent to me is skills plus experience equals talent. I rail against that phrase of talent because it almost sounds like it's a God-given thing. And I don't believe it is. I don't believe that anyone popped out of their mother's womb going, I'm incredible at X or Y. It's about purposeful practice.
Yeah, specifically when you're talking about like machine learning, for example.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a bit different to being talented at painting or something like that.
But but anyone could be great at painting. Anyone can draw. You just have to focus. Usually what happens is people get an interest in it when you're younger, so you do more of it, so you get better at it. And because you get better at it, you enjoy it more, so you do more of it. Wow, what a surprise. You've just got a bit of an interest in it. And I just think that's really interesting. Anyone can literally draw. What's the big, you know, not to decredit it, people have practiced and they're incredibly good at it because it is all of the practice. Just like the music for me, or, you know, when I went into writing code, it was purely practice. And it was night and day to do this thing really well. So that's why I just think I don't want the talent to go away. And when people are going, we're losing people from the North and going elsewhere. We've got such a great tech scene here. We don't shout about it enough, but we need to nurture more and more at much earlier grassroots and encourage right at the school level and our kids to be interested in problem solving, not so much literally writing code, but problem solving and interested in these areas.
Is there anything that you do at Razor then to help support that sustainability within of the tech ecosystem in Sheffield in particular that's like quite interesting that we can talk about?
So we've supported the UTC here and we go in and we give lessons and coach a lot of the cohorts. We also have brought on lots of graduates. I'm basically a non-exec for the Developer Academy in Sheffield, which is a coding school.
Great.
And so we're very involved in all of that, the grass level routes. One of the things that we also do is within Bulldozer, we own sheffieldforum.co.uk. Again, it's very much so in our cause of bringing people here and nurturing what's here. And it's a platform for us to shout about it. And within that, we're actually trying to have initiatives to engage at a STEM, the STEM sort of educational level, to encourage schools to do more, to encourage schools to actually think a bit differently and to encourage, girls to do more maths. And one of our developers, she does ML as well. Great, amazing. She goes back into the schools and shows the girls that you can do it. And I think we need more of that. We need to do more. We're not doing enough. And we need to get everyone else to do the same thing as well.
Of course, it's so important, isn't it? So clearly that's one of your passions, but what else are you really passionate about as an entrepreneur and a business leader?
What am I passionate about? Changing people's perceptions to be positive about the future and positive how technology can enhance our future. I really, really rail against the negativity of, it's all going to be, say about the news is always negative. And we'd like, we both were at the AI Tech North. And there's almost like this negativity against like, AI, it's going to crucify all our jobs. For me, the biggest thing I'm really passionate about is changing people's opinions and what the future can hold and what they can do about it. Stop criticizing, stop being negative about it, and you make the action to dictate your own future. It's what you do now is going to dictate your future.
You've got to get on board with it, haven't you? And I think actually before we came on the podcast, you said something really interesting about the rate of change that technology is having and the impact of that. But as humans, we haven't evolved at the same pace. So I think I think it'd be interesting if you talk a little bit more your thoughts on that, because I found that really interesting.
Yeah, it's something that, you have one of those, they're never light bulb moments. They come out over listening and reading. And so that's something I do a lot of reading. And I had this moment of, Phil, of there's been so much technology change over the past 100 years, 200 years, 300 years. And that moment of, what has the human done? How if we showed technology to someone 100 years ago, even if it's buying a burger from McDonald's, they'd go, that's an obscene amount of meat to eat in one sitting. And you go around in a box with wheels on it. What? This is crazy. It would just blow their mind. And you've got a mobile phone there as well. It would blow their mind.
They wouldn't believe it.
The human being has not evolved. The last big major change in a human being was 1.4 million years ago, they reckon, something like that. And that was the brain size hop. And also we've got a little bit taller since then and a bit blonder overall. That's the only changes. But we haven't changed. But everything around us, how we live, our environment, the technology we have to engage with, how we speak, like this call right now, that would blow someone's mind 50 years ago, 20 years ago, that this has happened. And I think we've got to be empathetic and understanding of not only our physical nature, but also, most importantly, our brains, what goes on, our subconscious, how we react to things. We see everything as a threat, and we need to be empathetic of that as leaders, especially from a technology point of view, this is going to affect us going forwards, and moving that and understanding it. I think for me, it's going to be like such an interesting and exciting thing to be doing. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. That leads me quite nicely then about like how you manage that personally. Like you've got so much energy and enthusiasm, and it's clear that you love what you do, but how do you sustain that? How do you look after your own mental health, well-being, personal health? How do you manage the stress of it all? You seem like this guy that sort of runs at 100 miles an hour. I've discovered stoicism. Now that sounds, again, that's probably one of those contrived things, but like modern stoicism. And I started to study it. I first came about it when I read a book called The Obstacle is the Way by a guy called Ryan Holiday. And that got me really interested in Marcus Aurelius and his memoirs. Yeah, wow. And when I read that, I had that moment of, God, hasn't the human being gone backwards? Why do we not think like this? And it's practicing those stoic things, like, we spoke about that whole thing. What's going to be like at your funeral? These little stoic practices of, there will be a last time I shut the lid on this laptop, or there's a last time I say goodbye to my kids. There's a last time I'm going to pick up my kids and hold them. There was a last time that my mum picked me up. I mean, I'd love to see her try and do it now. But when you start thinking like that, you anchor yourself in a totally different state. And that allows you to reframe everything. So when you think of challenges and something's gone wrong, shouldn't be blamed. It should always be reframed of, what can we learn from this? What lesson can we get from this? So that's how I try and do it. And it's capitalizing on the positives, really enjoying those positive emotions and reducing the negatives of the bad emotions. That makes you really resilient. When something bad happens, you don't lose you don't go off the rails, bang, bang. You don't need to do that. If you can control yourself and have these practices and be grateful for the situation you're in and reframing everything as something you can get good out of it, then actually so many good things come from it. We all get good and bad luck, and there's this return on luck. So what's your return on luck? When you get a good opportunity, do you rinse it for everything? If you get bad luck, which is just the same thing, we all get the same doses of it. How do you mitigate them? How do you stop them from affecting you? How do you stop ruminating? That's how I look at it, and that's how I. It's really good. It sounds like it keeps you very present and in the here and now. Because they say if you think too far in the future, that's anxiety. If you think too far in the past, that's depression. So get a good balance, and especially without what everything's going on at the minute, those are just stoic practices. It could be a lot worse. You could not have a leg. You could not be able to see. You could have a stem epilepsy and not be able to even move your eyes. So actually being stuck at home, self-isolating. Okay. Hey, God, exactly.
We're the lucky ones, aren't we? I thought that
Yeah.
this week when I was, obviously I mentioned to you earlier that I've got COVID at the moment, and being at home this week, and it's quite easy to feel really sorry for yourself, isn't it?
Yeah.
But instead I was just kind of thinking the whole time, I was just so grateful that like it hasn't gone to the extent that other people, and that's why I just kept thinking about it. Yeah, I feel a bit shitty, but ultimately it's like nothing in comparison, like the scale of what else is going on in the world right now with other people's families.
It's absolutely true. It's absolutely
so lucky, aren't we?
But you can't even have those two emotions. You know, if you feel grateful, can you feel angry at the same time?
Yeah.
Our brains can't do it. You know, that's a really good point. You know, when people say I can do two things at once, and I know women are far better at.
Well, before this, you were talking about how awesome your wife is.
Oh, she's amazing. Well, what a legend.
And also, she works at Razor as well, right?
Yes.
So cool.
She's on the board. I mean, God, what would you do without her? And it's that whole. So many people have this. What's the word? Not delusions of grandeur. The when you feel like you're in a place and you shouldn't be. And what's the word? I can't remember the word. You know, imposter syndrome. That's the one. Yeah. Imposter syndrome. Mm-hmm. My wife sometimes has that, and it's like, you know, we're all feeling like that. We're all winging it. I don't know what I'm doing. If you just bring enough energy to it, it'll be fine. We'll do it.
Believe it.
Yeah, exactly.
But that landed your first client at Razor anyway,
exactly,
right?
Exactly. You've got to believe in yourself. That whole thing of being able to do two things at once. When my kids say you can do it, or women can do it, and I saw it was on a kids program, and what they do is they put your hands out, and then someone else pushes your arms down. Okay. Yeah. And they found it quite hard to do. Now you say, put your arms out, stand on one leg, and you can push your arms down really quickly. And it's a physical way of showing how a human being cannot really do two things at once. Because the brain's going, I've got to try and balance. I've got to try and balance.
We're actually not good at it at all.
We're absolutely rubbish at it. And you should not try and do it.
So focus on things and be present, I think.
Oh, yeah, very much so. Very much so. All in on that one thing.
I love that. I've been super inspired and impressed by everything that you spoke about the business and your path. But what's the next then? Obviously, you said you're doing a lot of planning at the moment. You've got the incubator. What else? What's the next 12 months look like for you, Jamie, and personally and professionally that you're really excited about?
So with the business,
it's a big part of that, because that is
the business. I think we've shown that we are resilient. We're very resilient, and we're very focused on what we're doing.
Did you panic last year? Because I always find that really interesting.
No.
You didn't panic?
No. There's even a post on LinkedIn, and if anyone's listening and wants to connect with me, I'd love to speak with you. There's a post on LinkedIn, and it was right at the start of it. And some people railed against it in terms of the phraseology, but the analogy I gave was fall forwards. If you're in a fight, if you fall backwards, you're going to get knocked out. Fall forwards. Go against your instincts of locking down on PR and recruitment and people. Don't do that, because it just rips everything apart. Yeah. Be stoic. Be stoic. Hold strong, and don't let your subconscious irrational mind take over. Slow down, think about it, do the right thing, fall forwards before you get knocked out.
And clearly that's put you guys in really good stead. You've an extra 30% hires this year.
Exactly. Yeah, we went for it. We took that opportunity when most people wouldn't have done, and we started straight away on it. And we've built, our data practice has grown significantly. Yeah. And that, I believe that it is such a growth area for us.
Oh my God, this year,
and that's what we're doing.
This year, everything that from us as a business, everyone's after is more support in like Python. We're doing more Python engineers than ever before. And PHP, interestingly, as well. Like everyone this year, I don't know whether it's like the slant towards e-commerce, but I don't know. PHP is like the big new thing. Everyone wants
I can imagine that. Shopify, everything else, it's all very PHP.
It's just relevant, isn't it?
Great. And not a bad language. I could think of worse. But let's not get onto coding. Language wars. No.
So what else then? What else are you excited about?
Oh God, I think. Do you know what I'm really excited about? Seeing everyone again, and I'm going to give them all a damn big hug. I can't wait. Even if they don't want one, they're getting one. But I think it's just getting everyone together, feeling the energy of us all being together. I know it's a bit of a pipe dream at the minute, but I know it's going to happen, and I'm really positive for how the economy is going to come out of this. because that's just human behavior.
Yeah.
I feel very, very excited about where the future's going, what we're going to be doing, the partnerships we're forging at the minute. Some of them are under wraps at the minute. I'm just bubbling with excitement of where this is going to go and what we can achieve.
So exciting, isn't it? And that feeling of elation that's going to come when we do have the big, obviously, yeah, it's going to be good, isn't it? This year, I think we'll all party a little bit harder than before when we can eventually.
Well, I'm going to go to a nightclub, even though I don't really want to, but I'm going.
Bring the saxophone.
Oh yeah, I'll get on the stage and do it. Yeah, let's do that.
I love a sax on a night out. They're brilliant, aren't they? I had one.
Oh yeah.
Actually.
So. Oh really? Wow.
Yeah. Do you still play now?
Only when my kids force me.
Yeah, so lovely.
I did dig out some tunes actually. I found them from like 1999, 2000, and I put them all on SoundCloud.
Oh wow!
I just uploaded them because my kids.
I'd like to listen. It's interesting actually that there's quite a lot of correlation. Like I know a lot of people that we've interviewed on the podcast have like done a bit of Neil Dunlop does it from Infinity Works. He DJs in his spare time.
Yeah,
there's a few other tech leaders that I've spoken to that are into it. It's really cool.
It is
good. It's good to have hobbies help you unwind. So maybe you'll pick up.
Oh God, yeah.
It's been such a pleasure having you on the show today. I've really enjoyed speaking with you, Jamie. So you're happy, you mentioned anyway, you're happy for people to reach out via LinkedIn.
Oh, please do. I'd love to have the conversation. And again, true to my actual core values and beliefs, if I can help people, I will, whatever that is. I like to coach people, help people, and for them to succeed. And it's great.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. So thanks so much for your time, Jamie.
And thank you very much. It's been great to be on.
We would like to thank all of our listeners for tuning in. It means a lot to us and we really appreciate your support.